And we say that we stand with Wanjiku back on the ground, because the voice of Wanjiku from the recent public participation was loud and clear that they supported against this impeachment.
Of course, this is to me a political sham. And it's quite unfortunate to see that the 13th Parliament, barely 4 months after they voted in a very unpopular finance bill, that they have told the Kenyan people that they do not care about their priorities, they do not care about making sure that our young people have employment opportunities, they do not care about our healthcare system, they do not care whether Wanjiku at Mashinani has good roads. What they care about is political processes. And we have seen members of parliament in the large numbers, and they barely are in parliament when important legislations are being made that affect Wanjiku.
No. If you look at how the house was, you can see it was totally mobilized politically. And that is why you could not imagine that other times when we are speaking about the people's affair, it is always like empty with very few members of parliament. And I want to say, right from morning, you could see Rigathi Gachagua being condemned when he has not been heard. And the same case applied during the public participation. There is no way you can go to the members of public without telling them and hearing the other side of the story, and we expect them to give whatever is required from a point of knowledge.
The 13th Parliament will go down in history as one of the parliament that has been hijacked or captured by the executive. You've seen the way the voting has been done, the whole issue of impeachment, the way it has been driven. The issues were taken to public participation even before hearing the defense of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Even the members of parliament did not interrogate the issues that Rigathi is accused of. They just went ahead and voted and appended their signatures on a motion that they did not interrogated the issues. And when he was called upon to defend himself in parliament, those persons who purport to have been supporting the motion were not even listening to his defense. They had their mind very made up. And we've seen so much mobilization, a lot of money has been poured to make sure that the MPs vote in a certain way, and how to go down in history as well.
All right, those are some of the allegations that have been put forward by the members of parliament who are allied to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and say we voted no, and it's 44 of them. And you see quite a number of issues here being raised by this particular group. There's the issue of being condemned and heard, and also a decision already having been made even before the Deputy President made his way to the House to try and defend himself in the issue to do with bribery. But let me start with you, Julia, before I bring in Odo here. The issue of bribery, this is one thing that has been raised. But before I get to that, I want to understand whether you think this was a fair process based on what you've been able to hear.
Of course, you know my answer. I don't think it was a fair process, because in the past, the House has been, they have pronounced themselves, having been given 10,000, 20,000 in the toilet, in the corridors. And the other day they were saying they were given 200,000 in Nyandarua, and somebody gave them 50,000 and then away with the rest of the money. So it's a house of bribery. It's a house of deceit. It's a house of disunity. It's a house of idiots. You know, it's a house of made up of people who are not of their own mind. You know, and we are really embarrassed. We are really embarrassed as a country because how they were voting, and even how the mode and the mood they celebrated the impeachment, how it went. They celebrated like high school kids. You remember Mazua ya Nyayo, how we used to celebrate? That is the same. That's how they celebrated that kind of a thing. And therefore, there was no democracy. They were just waiting to rubber stamp. They were just waiting to please a certain authority. They were just waiting to be seen to be on the right side of politics, you know. And the 44 that didn't do that, of course, they were halted. I saw they were not given enough time. I saw that. I didn't even know they would turn to be 44. I mean, and shame on our MPs, because they cannot even let the public and the people who vied and lost to get a chance to be close to the deputy president and the president. They are always around him and hovering around him like eagles, just wanting to eat some meat that is around him.
Okay.
That is the money. And sometimes I normally tell our elected leaders, forget about the elected leaders. Why don't you go to the people who also contested? Because they had an idea. If the deputy president had already inclined himself with the people who vied and lost, he would be having the bigger mass. Because the people who vied 2022 general election were about 14,400 for men, and for women were about 1,900. And the women that made it to Parliament, Senate, and of course county assemblies, they are not even 500. Are you seeing? So I think there is a bigger number and a bigger mass out here that can be tapped. And politics is actually changing. We do not need to actually look at, because a sabotage, I mean, maybe he was not able to scratch. If yesterday he gave them like 300 million to divide among themselves, I'm telling you, we will not be talking like that. I can tell you.
Okay,
I can tell you.
That is Julia's assessment on that particular
Yes.
front. Okay, let me come to you, Oidi. This was a house that to some extent, people would argue had already pronounced itself on this particular matter. We had the deputy speaker saying, I'm going to be in charge of this. And yes, you saw the deputy president putting a plea and saying, I've heard what the deputy speaker has said, but I still remember the good things, that the moments that we shared on this particular front, you know, heading to the election and all that. You might condemn me right now, but I'll still love and cherish you for as long as I live, based on the good things that you did to me. We saw the speaker to some extent. Of course, he did say he, you know, did not refer to this particular matter. And members of parliament, most of them, 83%, had already put that particular signature saying this motion should actually go through. To some extent, trying to I'd say, you know, cementing what their belief was as far as the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was concerned. He gets into the House, 282 votes to impeach him. So somebody will look at it and say his fate was already sealed even before they gave him a chance to prosecute his defense.
I think we need to be very honest. But before I even say that, I think it is not fair to call honorable MPs idiots here. I think we are getting it all wrong. But nevertheless, the statement is attributed to only one person. Now, on the matter of the deputy speaker, having talked about she will lead the impeachment of the DP, I think the deputy speaker is a member of parliament like everybody else. The only person who is a special member of parliament is the speaker himself, who does not even vote. But to pretend that the deputy speaker is not supposed to talk about that, I think that is getting it all wrong, because she votes in parliament. And that vote has to be partisan according to where she wants to vote. And in any case, this whole thing is normally presided over by the speaker himself. The speaker also spoke, and all he said that the matter will be brought before him. I think if a journalist even asked a judge, what is going to happen to the criminal? No, the matter will be brought before me. Now, in all this debate, as much as we are trying to say that the DP's case had been decided in advance, I think the winner is the DP himself, because 291 MPs put down their signatures so that the matter is brought before them in parliament. After the debate in parliament, only 281 now, he actually won 10 people over from the people who wanted the matter to be taken before them. So he's actually the one who won in this contest in parliament. It's only that his win was so slim that could not save him from himself. That is what happened. Okay. So I think for us to say that the DP's case had already been decided beforehand. I haven't seen people here on TV talking about he was not given a chance. I remember watching the DP talk to parliament for almost 2 hours. Okay. I also remember he was talking to the country on what I would even call contempt of parliament, because parliament had already invited him and told him, we will give you 2 hours to defend yourself before your accusers, the MPs. But he still convened a meeting outside parliament to defend himself before the court of public opinion. Okay, I think that was contempt of parliament. But nevertheless, it went that way. And when he finally got to parliament, he was again given time to defend himself until he said, enough is enough. And then you come here and say that he wasn't given time to defend himself, I think.
His argument was that we did public participation without the public having heard his side. So when he decided to come to the media, I was like, okay, so you were asked about me, but I had not been given an opportunity.
Let me tell you something about public participation. Number one, we have to see the mischief that public participation was set up to cure. Public participation was set up to cure the fact that the government would wake up one day and do many things without consulting the public. So the public have been asked to be in parliament where this thing is done. In fact, this thing that you go with forms and people fail, I don't think that was the spirit of the public participation. And also public participation, we have not had an act of parliament operationalizing it. So it has just been the opinion of the judges that that be done that route. But the public opinion was done after the charges against Rigathi Gachagua had been made public.
Okay.
And whatever Rigathi Gachagua has been saying in public is common knowledge. It's all over.
Okay. I want us to cross over to Muranga, where our reporter is on standby to bring us up to speed on what is exactly happening on that particular front, and some of the reactions as far as the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is concerned. Over to you, Alfie. All right. I don't know. Can he? Okay, so I think we'll be coming to that later on once we are able to establish connection with him there in Muranga County as he tries to get the views and reactions from Kenyans on that particular front to just react to what we are actually experiencing as a nation right now. What to some extent we call this a historic move as far as the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is concerned. All right. So you're talking about public participation here, and this is one thing that was brought on the floor of the House, and they said 200,000 people got to respond. But I've seen somehow a rebuttal on that particular front. People saying, okay, it's a country of 55 million, 14 registered voters, 14 million registered voters, and you're talking about 200,000 having participated in this particular exercise that, to some extent, they feel did not get to capture a lot of feelings that most of the people had. So
as long as people are going to use public participation to defend themselves, this country will reach a time we will not be able to make decisions either in courts or parliament or authorities. Because today, this is the first time we are trying to do public participation like it is a referendum. People are demanding that they are given time, they all come to the public participation center. We are not going to hand over the powers of parliament to the public, because it is the public that through a referendum, which is a public participation itself, gave powers to parliament to do this through a procedure that we voted for. Article 150 of the Constitution was voted for by Kenyans through a referendum to be used to impeach the president. In fact, the impeachment of the deputy president ends in the Senate if he chooses that the process did not go correctly according to the law. That is when he can go to court only to challenge the process. Okay. He cannot challenge the voting in parliament if the process was correct.
All right. Now, I do want to cross over to Muranga. Of course, our reporter, Alfred Maina, there on standby to bring us up to speed on exactly what is happening with that particular front and some of the reactions as far as the impeachment of the second in command is concerned. Alfred Maina, you can hear me, I believe. How are you? And what is Muranga saying as far as the son of the soil's impeachment is concerned?
Yeah, indeed it is a historic event that occurred yesterday in the evening after the 13th Assembly made the decision to impeach the Deputy President. Is indeed a historical event, and maybe we'll find the books of history. But today in the morning I'm in here in Mukuyu Market to get and to engage locals here and also the traders in here, tell us their views concerning the whole process of impeachment. Maybe what do they think is the next course of action that will happen to the country, and also the position of the mountain region concerning leadership is concerned, and also will it maybe impact on the decision-making of the National Assembly in the near future. We get to hear from some of them. Karibia tu hapa. Give us service concerning the whole process of impeachment.
Okay, my name is Julius Kimani Kamau from Murang'a County. Nimeghadhabishwa sana na bunge letu la Kenya kwa sababu si vizuri kwa wabunge wetu kufanya vile walifanya. Ni kwa sababu tunaona ni kama walikuwa wamekula Kenya, walikuwa wamekula, lakini tumeghadhabishwa sana na bunge. Lakini tunajua Senate itaangalia mheshimiwa wetu Rigathi Gachagua. Tuko nyuma ya Rigathi Gachagua na tutasimama na Rigathi Gachagua mpaka mwisho. Ni kwa sababu Mount Kenya tumeona shida ya Mkikuyu ni Mkikuyu, kwa sababu tunapoenda mahali kwingine kama Western ama Mombasa tunaona mtu wao akiguzwa watu wao wanaleta shida, lakini sisi Mkikuyu akiguzwa sisi zote tunamkemea na tunasema huyo mtu si mzuri. Kwa hivyo sisi tuko nyuma ya Rigathi Gachagua na Rigathi Gachagua ni wetu na hakuna mahali anaenda.
Labda tutarajia labda hatua ya Senate itakuwa gani? Bunge la Senate linapelekewa masuala haya.
Tunajua Seneti, bunge la Seneti liko na watu ambao wako na ujuzi na watu pale ni mawakili, kwa hivyo watasimama, wamesoma, because tuliona clips ambazo mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua alikuwa anatoa katika bunge, na Rigathi alikuwa anatoa bunge kulingana na alikuwa anatoa clips kulingana na accusation ambazo alikuwa amekuwa accused nazo, na bunge hakuna kitu lilifanya pale. Kwa hivyo ilikuwa ni kama walikuwa wamehongwa, tujui kama walihongwa ama walifanya nini, lakini clips ambazo Rigathi Gachagua alikuwa anapeana zilikuwa za haki. Kwa hivyo tunajua Senate letu litafanya vile kuna stahili kulingana na sheria.
Sisi pia sisi zamani tushokaribia tu hapa. Tuambie kama mkazi wa Murang'a na eneo la Mkuyu, labda unaweza gani kuhusiana na mswala huu mzima kuatuliwa kwa kamati?
First and foremost, as a citizen of Mount Kenya, I'm so disappointed with the parliament because they accepted bribe instead of portraying justice after us electing them. One, Gachagua is innocent, he's a man of justice, and even our president is not a man of justice. He's not a Christian as he told us he is, and so he should portray justice. As I say this, Gachagua should remain, and if he is not going to remain, then no other tribe should be remaining in the parliament. For the Senate, I want to think that you have wisdom, knowledge and understanding of the bitterness of Mount Kenya and the Kenya at large. Can you portray your wisdom when the motion comes to you? We are expecting to see your actions and your reactions, and I hope and I believe if you are true Christians, you are not going to take bribes. That is my comment.
You can tell us, maybe, do you think that the decision yesterday will impact the future decisions of the Assembly?
Pardon?
Do you think the decision yesterday will impact the future decisions of the National Assembly?
Yes, it will. It will bring division, hatred, anarchy if not taken care of.
Thank you. We get to hear some views from more residents who are here, and those are some of the views that they are telling us. Those are some of the views concerning the yesterday's action and the decision to impeach the Deputy President. We'll keep in touch with the locals here to get to hear more of what they have to say concerning the whole process. Maybe what do they expect will happen after this concerning the whole country and also concerning the Mount Kenya region as a whole. So coming from Murang'a County, my name is Alfred Maina, working in studio.
It's Alfred Maina there interacting with residents of Murang'a, bringing us up to speed as far as this impeachment is concerned, telling us, we've gotten to hear their views to some extent, not having faith in the National Assembly with all this. And let me come to you. Based on what we've been able to hear, you see, there's this aspect that the Deputy President was accused of tribalism, and yet the actions of the members of parliament seem to be more dividing the nation than the Deputy President himself. So people were like, you attacked us because of our tribe and things like that. So to some extent, it has done more harm than good.
No, this thing is, they are speaking in Murang'a the same way the Luo speak in Kisumu when Raila has lost. They tell you that his votes have been stolen, and they believe it, and you cannot convince them. Even in Muranga, they will convince you that the DP is innocent and ameonewa, but his actions, statements speak volumes. So we should have had also this kind of opinion, street opinion, taken in Kakamega and Mombasa. Then we see what they say.
Okay, so then that just proves the point that based on whichever region somebody comes from, is going to inform how they respond.
And how they respond.
So technically we are an ethnically divided nation, and our thinking is actually based on where we come from and who we support.
Let me give you an example. I listened to an MP there talk about the president's silence. He wants the president to talk, but she does not want the speaker to talk. She wants the president to talk, but she does not want the deputy speaker to talk. Of course, if the president were to talk about this thing, whichever direction that he would support would definitely win and be seen to win. So the best thing as a leader is to remain non-partisan and let the parliament, which is supposed to make a decision without coercion. They are ready to accuse parliament of having been bribed by who? Yet there is somebody they want to talk and sway the thinking of parliament. Let us not talk from both sides of the mouth. That is oxymoronic. When you say this is red and at the same time you say it's not red. So if we want a free and fair process, let everybody who is not concerned keep quiet, and let those who are concerned debate and make a decision.
Okay. Julia, you've been able to hear residents of Muranga speak, and at some extent that has brought about the argument of whether we are an ethnically divided nation. Where do you stand on that? What's your take?
Yeah, of course, what we have seen there, and Maina has really tried to interview like the second lady. First of all, the deputy president doesn't come from Muranga, comes from Nyeri. And Muranga is part of central Kenya. And I think if you went to Kakamega or you went to any part of this country, you'd still get the same sentiment with a few people or with majority people, just like in Muranga. And I'm not saying that if you go to Muranga, you'll not find somebody who is happy that he has been impeached. I mean, it's all over the country. People have mixed feelings. Okay. And that is where I'm saying the biggest letdown is our house, that my senior here doesn't want me to talk about their idiots. But at least from my definition, the definition of an idiot is a person of raw intelligence, and I don't think they exercise their intelligence. And if I wanted to take it further, I would call them moron or stupid or lunatic or dumb or brat or whatever.
They are in the house for a reason.
You know, I didn't want to get to that point, but okay. the point here is, if the public seems to be dumb about the process and whatever is happening in the country, and our legislators seem to be the dumbest, if there is such a word, I think then we are losing it as a country. And I think this is just two clips that have been played here, and I'm sure if we continue on within the day, we will find mixed reactions, different views in the country, because right now we have very many issues that are affecting us. Did impeaching Gachagua put food on our table? Did impeaching Gachagua give money to the students who are looking for help? Did impeaching Gachagua create roads for us? Did impeaching Gachagua revert the Adan deal? Did impeaching Gachagua do anything that is of sense to Kenyans? I mean, like they did public participation. We need to be told, where did they get this kind of money to do public participation in a day? Why were the MPs full house yesterday? And when we are discussing even the two-third gender rule, when we are discussing these bills, the NADICO bills, they are not normally there. What was the motive? What was the objective of the public participation? We need to be told who funded it and how much. You know, those are some of the questions that are coming up, and that is what we should be focusing on. Whether he goes or not, the buck stops with the president. And that's why I told you there are two scenarios. Either he goes or the president saves him. And then he comes here and tells us he's good. Because
but even if the president saved him, what kind of relationship are we looking at?
I mean, politics, there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Okay. Today they can call each other enemy. I mean, we called Raila all sorts of names, and now he's a darling of the mountain, and everybody else in Kenya. And even, I mean, politics, you cannot trust a politician. And that is why I normally say I'm not a politician. Me, I'm a leader. Okay. You cannot trust a politician at all. And those people are not to be trusted anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of them will argue that they're actually leaders and not politicians, but we'll come back to that later on. And also just take a look at the kind of defense that was given to some of the allegations that the deputy president was, have been, the allegations that have been leveled against him, issues to do with corruption, and gross misconduct and all these things, that he did put a spirited fight and defense for 1 hour, 30 minutes trying to defend his name before the National Assembly. So we'll be taking a look at that in details so that we get to see how that played out. All right, we take a break. Continue engaging us on our socials at K24 across social media platforms. You're live on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, and you can share your feedback as far as this process is concerned and what you think about it. We'll be sampling as we continue with the program this morning.
We interrupt this program to bring you some breaking news.
Meet the team